Okay, let's talk about Nonnas. Nonnas has a few things working against it. Number one, the title, Nonnas. What is that? That sounds like baby talk. Honestly, when I saw the title, I went like, what the heck does that mean? And then I saw that Vince Vaughn was the star. Do you remember when Vince Vaughn was like in everything? I remember that was a time in our cinematic history where Vince Vaughn just seemed to be in like everything. And he always played that same guy. You know what I'm talking about? That guy. And I don't even have to describe that guy. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. It's Vince Vaughn. It's that guy. And so he plays that guy in this film too. Now in this film, he's trying to start a restaurant. Now that restaurant is not called Nonnas, just to let you know. However, what happens is that you actually see early in Vince Vaughn's life, as a kid, he remembers his family getting together, and all the Nonnas, which I think is grandmas, maybe? You know what? Shoot, I probably should have looked that up. Sorry. Always brought their recipes to their thing, and all their recipes were, of course, very delicious. And he has these food memories. So yeah, this is the third thing I thought was going to be working against this film. Nonnas is a feel-good movie. It is. Hollywood doesn't really make these anymore. There was a time, like in the 80s or something, Hollywood made a lot of feel-good movies. In other words, where the actual conflict wasn't really that much, but it was still understandable. The stakes weren't that high. Nobody's life was at stake. Nobody was going to die if you didn't do this by the end of the film. But here's the thing about this film. I actually liked it. Yeah, I did. I'm going to admit it. I like this film. I like Nonnas, okay? I would recommend seeing this film because it's a pretty decently done film. I was actually surprised at what I was seeing. And at first when I was watching it, I kind of went like, why am I watching this? There's Vince Vaughn. He's gonna fall in love, and it's like, and he's gonna deny it, and then at the end he's gonna like finally embrace it. And that's not really the point of the story. The point of the story feels more everyday. And anyone who has ever tried to go into business for themselves knows this story, where essentially you have to sort of juggle two things. And we see Vince Vaughn kind of working at, I'm not sure, a machinist shop. I'm not really sure where he's working at, some sort of, but essentially he's trying to stay on the clock there while he's trying to open this restaurant. Because after his grandmother died, he was left some money, and instead of just keeping the money and just giving himself a bigger cushion, he decides that he really wants to spread the love and open this restaurant where he wants to get people like Nonnas, actual Nonnas, with their recipes at this restaurant cooking for other people. And it's a really beautiful dream. And he wants to put this restaurant in Staten Island because that's the only property he can afford. He can't really go into New York City and do this. So this is a restaurant that, and I might as well just get this out of the way. This is actually based on a true story. I didn't know that, and going into it, and I thought it was just some script that was just getting passed around and finally got sidelined to Netflix because, well, let's face it, Netflix's original movies, some of them are really good, some of them aren't. I thought this was going to be one of the aren't, but actually, it's one of the is. So I have to admit that, you see Vince Vaughn struggle through here, and you see certain things happen. This is a kind of a comedy movie, so you kind of see that this, what's going on in here is, it's a comedy in the sense like it's sort of happy. Like I need to define comedy. I was actually told when I was in the university that comedy doesn't reference something that's funny. Comedies represent something that has a happy ending. And yeah, I don't think it's any spoiler to say that Nonnas has a happy ending, okay? I don't really think it is. Because I think, like, once again, this is a feel-good movie. Feel-good movies have happy endings. I think we all know that. I enjoyed this film because I felt like it does show a realistic struggle, and it does show the love that these people have for each other and the idea that they want to make this dream come alive. Because at some point in time, these Nonnas are at first they are getting together and they think like, well, fine, we'll help out Vince Vaughn's character, but they don't necessarily like each other. And then there's a scene where they all pretty much get together in a room and they start to really understand each other. And I actually kind of thought, okay, this is actually working. At that point in time when the Nonnas actually get together in a room and just talk and stuff like that, a scene that really shouldn't work works. I don't know why. I think maybe part of it is because they're sharing things that are really interesting. Because I think that because I think I kind of really like this thing where Susan Sarandon's in this film, and some of the Nonnas are saying like, well, yeah, and they were talking about how her breasts are so huge. And then she says like, well, yeah, I had them restored after having a double mastectomy. And I'm kind of going like, oh, shoot. And it's kind of interesting that fact is kind of revealed there. And I went like, okay, that actually gives a bit more depth to her character. There's another character who kind of came from a convent, and she has a very interesting backstory as well. And I kind of thought, wow, this is actually kind of deep. I didn't really expect a film like this to go as deep as this. And so as you might have guessed here, Vince Vaughn's restaurant is not doing so well. There are not people eating at it every night. The only people that really come in are family members, and yeah, that's kind of how that works. So he's eventually going to have to close the restaurant, and he doesn't know what to do. And this is one of those films that you see a lot, where somebody has a business or, I don't know, a rec center that's about to go down, and just like, we got to raise money, or we got to do something to drum up business. And I actually like the fact they show Vince Vaughn sending emails out to as many critics as he can to try to even get them into the restaurant. And then at one point in time, he actually goes up to one of the critics with food and says, here, please eat this, and please come to my restaurant and give me a review. And here's the thing, that one critic does eventually do that. And then then an article is put in the paper. And then, hey, I don't think there's any real spoiler here on this, but yeah, they get to have their restaurant stay open here. And I realize I'm at the 7-minute mark and I'm revealing like the major spoiler ending of the film, but honestly, if you didn't predict that ending, you need to see more movies. Yeah, Nonnas is one of those films that I really felt like, oh gosh, not this. I thought this film was very formulaic. I thought this film was very safe. This film is like PG rated, and it's like, and to me, when do you see a PG rated film these days that isn't a kid targeted movie? And Nonnas does not feel like a film you'd sit down with your kids to watch, because I think your kids would get bored, really. Because it's about somebody who's doing very adult things, and it's about adults getting together to talk about things that are problems as an adult. It does not get sexual or anything like that in any way. It's just people talking like this, and people talking about their problems here. It works. It actually kind of does work. I was surprised that this, and it's weird that I'm actually kind of ashamed that I liked this film. Because I think my basic supposition of it was going to be like, oh, this is just going to be one of those films that's going to try and make me smile and try to make me do all that. And it's like, am I cynical? Because I guess I thought that. But here's the thing. This film did make me smile. This film was very tender-hearted, and I did appreciate what it was not only trying to do, but what it succeeded in doing. So yeah, I am going to have to give Nonnas a pretty high rating. Am I going to give it a too high a rating? Don't press your luck. It's no Speed Racer. Yeah, I know, that's one of my favorite films. Okay, geez. You want to judge me in the comments? Do it. But I'm going to say, like, hey, if you haven't seen Nonnas yet, you should probably see it, because it's definitely I was actually surprised to see that on Netflix. Netflix has that thing that when you log in, it'll say, like, films that are popular this week. And Nonnas was, like, one of the most popular in the week, and that was in the week it came out. And yeah, so I just had to watch it, didn't I? Because I got to find stuff to do rants about, don't I? And I thought I was going to tear this one a new one, just like I did, I don't know, Love Hurts or some of those other films that I've just really hated, like Gladiator 2 or something like that. But yeah, no, I didn't. I actually kind of like this film. Anyway, I think I'm going to end a little early, because I think that's really all I can say about it, because I think I just want you to watch Nonnas, even though you might know how it's going to end.